California Society of CPAs Management of an Accounting Practice Committee. And with me is Chris Murray. Chris, I'll let you kind of give yourself a quick introduction as well.
All right, excellent. I'm Chris Murray. I am the I guess whatever. What is my title?
Vice chair.
Assistant chair, vice chairman. There we go. Chairman to be.
Future chairman.
Chairman to be, unless I bail out at some point. But no, we're excited here. We're Paul and I are taking a first stab here using some more modern technology to bring a little info to our group, to not only the MAP committee, but anybody else here in the association that feels like this is an interesting topic to them. Yeah.
So from my standpoint, the most important title that you have is future chair.
But yeah, 1 year from now.
So Chris and I did a presentation at our last state MAP committee meeting on the AICPA's National MAP Survey. And we just thought we'd just kind of leverage that and bring a few points to this video that we found interesting and we thought that the members might find useful. So I guess first off, we just kind of talk about what the MAP survey is. And generally the MAP survey is a national survey that the AICPA conducts every 2 years. If any of you out there have completed the survey, you know it's extensive. I don't know, Chris, what's your experience in filling that thing out?
My experience is I've never had any success fully completing the MAP survey, and I had less success this last year. So as Paul said, it's a survey that's done biannually, and so every even year. And so the survey typically comes out around this time, May, June of the even years. And in prior years, prior to last year, they would give you like a July due date, and then that became a late July due date. And then they said, oh, well, you really want more people to submit, so we'll give you till middle of August, and then maybe late August. And of course, all of us then got busy with the second busy season, and I think there was a tendency to not get a lot done. I know that we reviewed and doing our presentation to the MAP committee, and it's interesting that overall participation was down this last year. And I attribute some of that to the fact that they held tight on their due dates, which I applaud them for. Yeah. But as a procrastinator, that meant that I didn't fill much out last year.
Yeah. It's a big job, and it's best, if there's somebody in your office that's an office manager or firm administrator that can complete it. There's some calculations you might need to do. I think this year they had your prior survey inputs on screen or available, if I remember correctly. So that did kind of help as you prepared it to kind of see, well, how did I answer this question last year, and maybe help you go back to your records to see where some of that information came from. So it's a really great resource in the sense that the trade-off for data, which is they really want to try to get as many participants as possible, is if you complete the survey or within some percentage of complete, you get a customized report back with comparisons of like-sized firms in your region to your numbers, and that's really important and a real great benefit. And one of the things that I know you and I have talked about, really trying to encourage more firms in California, and certainly people that are active in our MAP group, to participate in this process. And so we want to bring some attention to this now, so that you can start preparing for a year from now. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, and so you talked about the value of it. It is a valuable resource to have to look at, kind of how you stack up to other firms. One of the unique things, and I might be able to show this on the screen here. One of the unique things is that you can filter the survey results for your region.
Oh, and look at that. More technology. That's awesome.
So you can the report comes with regional detail from the Northeast, the South, Midwest, and the West, and then firm size. So, for a lot of us, it may not be applicable to compare, your firm to maybe one of the big four firms, but you can get some information that's really regionalized and specific to a firm that's comparable to yours. So you can really benchmark and see how you're doing, how you stack up, ways you can improve, things like that.
And it's a good reminder, because some people don't pay attention to this. If you and your firm have a membership in the PCPS, Private Companies Practice section, I think is what that stands for, section of the AICPA, you have access to all those reports and all that data. You just can't, if you haven't filled it out, you don't have a comparison from that standpoint. But as Paul noted, you can filter down, and there's a lot of detail that you can get to if you have access. If you didn't participate, we'll kind of do the doom and gloom. If you didn't participate and or you're not a member of PCPS, the amount of information that you have access to is really limited to what AICPA shares with Cal Society, which is still a fair amount. They've been very generous because of other members, particularly in our MAP committee, who participate at the AICPA level. We've been able to get a fair amount of that. And correct me if I'm wrong, have we shared some of that on the website, or can we?
I think we have. I think that we've got... Boy, that's a good question. One of our projects that we're dealing with here. But yeah, I do think that the map, we have the last couple of MAP survey results on the CalCPA website under the MAP committee resources page. I don't have a link or detailed information exactly where it is right now, but it's somewhere on there, I believe. If not, we'll make sure that it gets back up. But I believe the AICPA provided us California specific extractions of information, which was great. Yeah.
Well, so, you want to talk a little bit about kind of just some of the things that we saw and some of the results we had, or that we're seeing out of the MAP survey. Again, the survey was last summer, and it's based on 2015 financial information. So we're already close to a year and a half old on this info. Right.
Yeah. So I prepared an executive summary of the executive summary. So some of the takeaways from the executive summary is that overall the business of public accounting is strong. Firms across all of the revenue bands are showing solid gains in revenue and profitability. I think as we think back to the 2007, 2008 years, where I think a lot of accountants saw their businesses drop. We are certainly in an era right now where business is strong. I don't know what you experienced, but down here in Orange County, there's a lot of opportunities for accountants. And so, the survey echoed that same thing, that business is strong for public accounting.
Yeah, absolutely. And despite the continued rise of the variety of tools that are available to individuals and businesses out there, the need for strong and competent advisory services, it continues to grow, and that's a real opportunity. So it's nice to see that things have bounced back. The numbers did trend as challenging for a period of time. But yes, the general consensus out of the report, again, based on the group that were surveyed, was that that our business area is strong again.
Yep. One of the things that was a trend also is that firms are diversifying their services. So firms are out there kind of adding on new areas that they're working in, whether that's maybe smaller firms doing some audit work, even financial planning services. And I think consulting services are probably a strong growth area as well.
One of the things that, the San Francisco Business Times, which is part of a wider network of, regional business newspapers, they do all sorts of reporting. San Francisco Business Times in the issue where they did their top 75 firms of the Bay Area, their whole complimentary article with that list was the continued push of accounting firms into client advisory services, client accounting, business advisory. And so it's nice to see that our industry is taking their blinders off a little bit and looking a little wider as to how we can work and help our clients continue to grow and succeed as they want to.
Yeah. I know that I see a lot of merger and acquisition activity of firms down here, and often it also relates to that same kind of thing, getting into another niche or into another business area that maybe a firm isn't involved in, and also geographic expansion as well.
It is interesting. I mean, I think we've both been at meetings where we've had that statistic shared that there's 48,000 CPA accounting firms across the nation, and something like 42,000+ of them are 8 people or fewer. So yeah. we are an industry cobbled together of entrepreneurs and very small practices, and then a handful of very large ones. So it is interesting, and it does seem like the larger firms continue to be aggressive to absorb niche practices, particularly, and use that as an opportunity to move into geographies that they don't have a foothold in. Yeah,
and of course, the other thing that we are always talking about, and this is kind of an aside from the discussion today, but you know, in addition to those statistics you said about firms, they're also the partners and owners of these firms are all older and starting to approach retirement age, and there's a lack of younger people wanting to become partners in CPA firms. So that's another thing driving a lot of this merger and acquisition action that we see out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So another trend that I highlighted in my executive summary of the executive summary was just that firms are incorporating kind of a greater mix of billing protocols. And so, you know I've been hearing it for a long time, this moving away from the billable hour and going to value billing. And it sounds like that there's an increase of firms taking on different ways of billing other than just the traditional hourly billing.
Yeah, definitely. And that we've had that conversation quite a bit in our meetings. Are you finding that you're starting to do that more in your practice, Paul?
Yeah, we do. We at the beginning of before the beginning of the year each year, we go down our list of projects that are repetitive projects, same project we've done for the prior year, and we set pricing ahead of time on any project that we can. Our engagement letter gives us the ability to before we start work, contact them and say, hey, that quote we provided didn't include this transaction that you went through or something like that. But we have been entering into a significant amount of kind of fixed fee billing arrangements with our clients, and our clients like it because there aren't surprises in the end. It's quick, it's easy for us to get bills out. So yeah, we have been moving to that with some good success in our practice.
Do you find, what are some of the challenges you found around that? Are you finding occasionally, or particularly with your staff, that you're getting any kind of scope creep around tasks?
Yeah. The way that this works is if you tell your staff, okay, now before you start working, look at the information, look at the data, look at the budget, make sure that we can do this for the budget for the amount that we quoted. Of course, that's easier said than done when it's, March 13th. And so sometimes people just dig in and they start working without really doing that kind of assessment. But I think overall, it allows us to have write-ups where maybe we were capped on that in the past. And so when we have those kind of scope creep issues, they seem to be made up on the other side. So.
Great. Well, it's probably a topic that we could do a whole session on, and talk about some of those best practices and the things that feedback we're getting in our MAP committee, and some things to share with the wider Cal Society membership. So maybe we'll add that to our to-do list.
Yeah, just what we needed, another thing on the to-do list. Well, the last thing. Yeah, go ahead. Go for it.
I think you had one last item on your executive summary of the executive summary.
Yeah, and this was like even a quote from their text, but they said one of the most telling conclusions revealed in the survey this year is that you don't have to be big to run a very profitable firm, and you don't have to be small to be innovative and nimble. And I think that it's a really good takeaway. It's kind of neat that the data in the survey supports that, but I think it's a good takeaway as to one of the reasons you might want to participate in this survey in the future and download the survey right now to take a look is to, understand what it means to be innovative and nimble, and also just ways to run a more profitable practice.
And I know you and I have set as a goal to really focus on new technologies and practices to really allow people in our industry to be creative and run a successful practice, however they define that. So I hope that people come back to us and participate. We'll hopefully do some more of these and focus on some of those tools and processes.
Yep. Good deal. Well, that's a quick rundown. Again, I would encourage anybody who's interested in doing things better in their firm and to check out the AICPA MAP Survey. It's a great resource. So hopefully this has been useful. Again, we are representing the California Society of CPA's State MAP Committee.
Exactly. We're the new click and clack, right, of the accounting industry.
I think only slightly less entertaining.
All right, we're gonna have to up our game for the next one.
All right, so that's it. I guess I'll, if you want to say your name.
This is Chris Murray saying goodbye, and I hope to see you on the Cal Society webpage or wherever we end up hosting this thing.
All right, and this is Paul Nienow, and thanks for listening.